Hello and welcome back to the Bridge Command Patch Tier List Part 3. Parts 1 and 2 are linked in the description, so do check those out first if you like. If you're new to this series, we review the custom patches and indeed some of the official patches of the Bridge Command universe. If you don't know what Bridge Command is, I'm not going to cover that today. The assumption is that you're here from the Bridge Command community. If you're not from the Bridge Command community, I honestly do not know why you're watching this video. So, we've got a lot of patches to get through today, so I will jump right in just a moment. But before we do, a couple of corrections or updates on the tier list as we have it, as we left it at the end of video number 2. The first and most important amendment that I'm going to make is for the torchbearers. I popped them into A tier at the end of video number 2, and I think I was being a little bit too harsh. I think possibly treating S as a little bit too sacrosanct. The Torchbearers patch is beautiful, crisp, clean design, original ideas. With respect to the patches that came before it, in terms of color scheme, in terms of layout, in terms of having the field of 5 stars, a la Raising Havoc. This patch is really good, and really proficiently done, very original. When I first put that video out, I think the first time I was back in the mess after putting that video out, I was confronted by a large group of folks at the craft table who were all outraged that I robbed the torchbearers from S tier. Peer pressure is not something I want to encourage, especially when it comes to peer pressuring me. But on reflection, I do agree with the consensus that the Torchbearers patch is an S tier patch, so I am going to put it in its rightful place, correcting a wrong of several months ago. Now, as I said, we do have, I think, about 16 patches to review today, so the tier list is going to start getting crowded. I think the general standard is quite high, but I do want to make sure that I'm clearing a little bit more space in the middle of the tier list, so that we end up with a balanced distribution. So for those reasons, I am going to be bumping the engineering specialist down to the top of C, and actually air unlocked with it, so that we're starting today with a more even distribution. And I do think, as I say, the general standard has risen, so we maybe need to be conscious of the previous patch reviews. We're reviewing things in a different context with many fewer patches available for you to choose from. So moving on to the new patches, we're going to start with Bad Batch, and it's a good one. It's certainly a very striking patch. It's crisp, it's clear. Obviously, the very first thing that stands out to you is this ominous skull, that is just draws the attention. In fact, clearly decisions have been made here by the designer, who I believe is Lieutenant Blake, to not make this too busy, right? We've got lots of negative space on the sides here, so the eye is drawn to the skull. And I love the way that this crack in the skull, which, by the way, raises even more questions. The crack in the skull is this sort of this version of the UCN insignia spilling out. It's very creative. It's crisp and it's clear. We've got 4 stars down the bottom, but then I suppose we account the star at the top center of this distorted UCN insignia as the 5th star representing the 5 episodes of the campaign. So that's a very creative decision as well. I think that works really nicely. Sort of respect tradition, but do it in a different way, allowing you to sort of maintain the symmetry with this the date 2182 in the bottom center. So this is there's a lot of nice ideas going on here, um, and it's very well executed. Really competent patch. I can't say that I myself would really want to wear a skull on my arm. Are we the bad guys? Obviously, this is Bad Batch, so they do kind of consider themselves the bad guys in a way, maybe. Certainly, the red and black color scheme is aiding with that sort of villainous vibe. Um, Putting aside personal taste, the clarity and focus of this design is is to be applauded. So I think this is a comfortable A tier, a high A tier. Um, so that is where we will put our first patch of the day. The next, moving onwards to Starburst, another campaign patch. Well, this is a different style, isn't it? Um, I think this would look really handsome on a jumpsuit with the navy or border, and of course this Age of Sail tall ship front and center, the dominant image of the patch. I think it's really cool. Um, a few things let this down. I think the tall ship is great on this sort of planetoid, this blue planetoid. It's clearly in orbit, but it's also evoking that it's on the sea. That's really cool. But I do think that the star field is busy and it just looks a bit haphazard. Right, I am. If there is meaning here, I apologize to the Starburst crew, but it looks to me like just stars and moons and stuff have been sort of splattered on, and the overall effect is undermining, I think, the overall look of the patch. I'm also, call me a humorless person, but I think big beam energy is not my is a weak sort of tagline for the crew, in my opinion. So I'm sort of marking it down for that as well. But I like the color scheme and I like the idea to go with the Age of Sail. That's novel and original, but I do think there's just a few technical design errors, and and that slogan is not doing it for me, which means this goes into high B tier. Okay, next up we have the Void Runners. I think this is not technically a campaign crew, but just a crew of regulars, a friend group, I believe. I can only assume that this friend group met or predominantly meets playing Dungeons and Dragons, as obviously this patch is giving heavy D20 energy here, and I assume that's intentional. We've got these lines around the outside, which I suppose is supposed to evoke a vortex, that D20 coming out of or being sucked into a void, perhaps. I think that reads just about, but we will see today better executions of a similar motif. And I think the choice of going blue on purple for the Void Runners and the Latin motto text is probably not the best choice of contrast for those. So I really like the initial impression of this patch. But I do think the more you look at the detail on it, the more the flaws come through. Not least as well the UCN insignia, which is just unfortunately I think too small for embroidery to be able to do justice. That being said, again, similar to what I said a second ago, the overall impression initially hits quite strongly. The same is true of this insignia. Right? It is actually, in fairness, quite readable at a glance. But it's just when you then take a closer look, it starts to look a bit cheap. Um, so I think Void Runner's patch has a lot of potential, but it is unfortunately a B tier patch as well. So I'm going to plop it there. We will move on to this one is actually an official patch. It is, and it's sold in the mess, so you can easily get your hands on it if it is indeed still in stock. This is the United Confederation Marine Corps patch. Now, when this patch first came out, I thought my initial thought was this is a very attractive patch, but I don't know like what the market is for people to declare their affiliation to the Marine Corps, right? Um, unlike the sub team specialization patches or even the diplomatic patch, which is, but all of which are specialist patches which you can very easily like embody when you do a bridge command mission. There's not that many opportunities to sort of be a member of the Marine Corps. So this is why I was skeptical of this patch doing well at first. But, that being said, that was my first thought. And it is a sobering reminder that I am not, in fact, always correct. This one has, in fact, been quite popular, and I've seen it adorn many an arm in the mess. So clearly, there are a whole bunch of people who love the idea of being Marines in the UCN. And I wish them many successful boarding actions in the future. Bring me back a UVP alive, boys. Now, reviewing the patch itself, this is certainly one of the better official patches. We've got this UCN insignia rising sun looming over a globe, which evokes the sort of territorial control tasks that Marines are known for. And then sort of stepping back, the overall effect is just sort of circles within circles across the whole patch, and that I don't really have much more to say on that other than it's just a very pleasing to the eye. So I'm going to place this patch in B tier again, above basically all of the other specialist patches, but below, in my opinion, the diplomacy patch. Okay, next up we've got another campaign patch. Hoisted by our own Picard. Through mistakes to the stars. This is by Sub-Lieutenant Doug. Okay, there's no denying that this is very well executed. And I'd have to be fairly humorless to say this doesn't at least raise a smile. But I am hung up on a couple of things that are going to make me sound humorless. I don't have that much affection for a sort of 21st century meme on a patch, and it's a pun on top of a meme. And I also personally struggle with the sort of intrusion of Star Trek into the world of Bridge Command. That just sort of itches my brain in ways that personally bug me. And then to nitpick the design, this UCN insignia here is even smaller than on the Void Runners, and doesn't read like the Void Runner. Void Runners does read as clearly UCN. This one doesn't read anywhere near as clearly. So almost looks like a printing error. And the placement is creating some dissonance. I understand that it is center aligned, right? There's a line down this center line. But because of Picard's pose, it like doesn't to my eye read like it feels like it's centered, right? It doesn't look centered, even though I know intellectually that it is. Um, and I also know that it's intellectually that it's not trying to be Picard's Starfleet comm badge, but it's close enough that it looks like it maybe is trying to be the comm badge. And so it doesn't really work, this element, and it starts to irk me. So I'd either lose it or make it much larger and just sort of overlay it as if it's just, an element that's been layered over on top of the Picard meme. I can't fault the execution of Picard. I mean, that's obviously facepalm Picard. That works. That is there and good. But it's just not. It's just not. I'm gonna have to be cruel here and put this in C tier, because I just don't want to see Star Trek in my bridge command, more than anything. So yeah, there you go. Sorry, Sub Lieutenant Doug. Next up, we've got a repeat offender. In fact, a second bite at the apple on this one. It's the Drama Society revamped in time for the Billy Wallace's performance of Spamlet. If memory serves, we placed the original Drama Society patch in B tier. My main criticisms were that all of the detail around the gun turret being made up of pieces of parchment, and the gun barrel itself being a scroll, were kind of lost. So Alex made a pretty bold decision on this redo to make it woven and not embroidered. And you might think that I would object to that. However, as much as I do like embroidery, going woven was clearly the right choice in this case. If you need an intricate design, this woven patch style, while it doesn't have the texture and the tactility of an embroidered patch, if you want an intricate design, you've got to explore alternate production methods, because we've seen time and again details getting lost or ruined by the embroidery methodology. So it's definitely paid off to go woven here. Let's take a look. I mean, so we've got what is clearly much more readably parchment. We've got the scroll is definitely a scroll. We can actually see "alas" written on one of these scrolls, with the gold leaf helping provide some texture to the folding of the creases in the paper. Overall, I mean, I love the glitter replacing the grey. This is showbiz. The only downside of the glitter is Warspite Task Group Society of Drama is in many lights kind of lost. So that is one small thing that holds this back. I love our drama masks and the sort of laurel there. This is a lovely patch. Lieutenant England has taken on all of my criticism from the previous patch, and so this deserves its place as a solid A tier patch. This would be S tier if I could read the text on the border, but I can't in good conscience. Put it in S tier with that fairly major issue still in place, but super work. A tier. Okay, our next patch is Aquae Solace. Apologies if my Latin pronunciation is poor, but here we go. So this is a campaign group, group of friends from Bath. Aquae Solis is a reference to Bath, and the Latin motto means uphill both ways. So if you know Bath, then it's a very hilly town. If you're going anywhere, then you may have to climb a hill, no matter which direction you're heading. And then this design, I think, is beautiful. This is the Pulteney Bridge and Weir in Bath, an iconic location in Bath. And it looks, if you look this up, it looks just like this. So a really nice, really smart piece of graphic design to evoke a very specific place with just a few lines. I think that's really good and needs to be applauded. However, my criticisms of this patch are it's a lovely tribute to Bath, but it gives me nothing. It's giving me no bridge command at all. This could just be a patch for Bath. So I'm always going to limit limits the appeal of a patch if for bridge command if there's no reference to bridge command universe, the stars, or anything on here. And so whilst I think the design is really smart, it's quite visually attractive. It's not giving bridge command, so I'm afraid it's going to go towards the bottom of the B tier. Talking of patches that are very attractive but don't give bridge command, the folks who designed Trans Rights or Bytes have taken another crack based on my critique that it wasn't really a bridge command patch to do a bridge command specific version of Trans Rights or Bytes. Look, you're always gonna get credit in my book for stroking my ego and taking on the criticisms from my previous video and then doing a new patch for it. That's always gonna win brownie points with me. And there is a lot to like. I mean, I love the sort of Martian planet in the bottom here. We've got this sort of almost jaunty angle for the slogan, Trans Rights or Bytes. And I think the trans pride colors as the whoosh, the exhaust streak of this this space plane shark is very attractive. So that's what I like. But I've got to say this is overcorrecting to the criticism, I'm afraid, of the previous patch. Because our shark on that previous patch was adorable, and I just am not. The shark ship is cool, and it's definitely more bridge command, but there's a significant loss of cuteness and adorability, and that means something. So I do like this. It is going in A tier, but I think I would have liked to retain a little bit more of the sort of cute menace of the original shark in that original design. But it's another lovely addition to the trans representation in the Bridge Command universe, and I'm very happy to see it exist, and I hope to see it on people's arms soon. Okay, well we are. This is not so much a redesign, but it is a return It's the Rising Tide second campaign patch. So this is less a redesign for the purpose of just trying to get up the tier list, but a new design for a second campaign, and not every campaign crew did that, but I think this is a really cool idea. This is Mike Overton design. It is wonderful. As always with an Overton design, it is professionally designed, and wow, like this wormhole motif, it looks really cool and really helps the patch to pop. Um, and it's really of the moment, this patch, right? We've got UVP swarming out of wormholes. This really helps put the Rising Tide crew, make it feel like it's at the center of the action in the plot in the world, and I think that's very cool for that crew. We've got the 5 stars for the campaign this time, also on the star field, which I think looks really nice. And I think the color scheme is distinctive, different from the previous patch, and therefore also different from Raising Havoc and Torchbearers and Ridding's Riders and the Gobies, while still very much maintaining its identity as a campaign patch. So I'm going to put Rising Tide Campaign Patch 2 in the S tier. Next up, we have got the Cider Generalist patch. Okay, listen, folks know my opinions on the Generalist patch. I don't think it's that attractive in and of itself, but I think it's a really cool idea, and I think it's cool when people build off of the design language established in the Generalist patch, and this very much does this, and it's a very fun concept. So Teddy Fraser has recently been running his cider tasting nights. And as a result, the Warspite Mess has found itself very well stocked with a wide array of ciders. Lieutenant Fletcher has produced this cider generalist patch for when you have tried the spring cider. That's this spring represented by this spring. The autumn cider represented by these leaves, and the winter cider, and this whiskey barrel aged cider. 4 different big types of ciders that we've got in the mess here. It's cool. I'm very fond of this connection to the generalist design. I'm not sure who would wear it when, but it is a good one. And it's a solid B tier. Let's put it next to the generalist patch in B tier. It's nice to have the addition of patches that aren't exclusively for campaigns, and that with a little bit of tongue in cheek can find their place in the world of Bridge Command. Okay, next up we've got the Angels, another campaign group who I had the pleasure of seeing come out of their 3rd or 4th mission last weekend. This patch is simple, but quite effective. It's the UCN insignia with angel wings. They've gone with the standard "Go Beyond" motto. I might have, that's fine. And we've, not clogged it up with names, and we've not clogged it up with lots of other stuff. And I think that's fine. I think the criticisms I might make are that how well does this read as angels? I could be tempted to extend the top wings a little bit more to help. For me, that would help evoke angel wings a little more. This is kind of giving butterfly more than angel to me. So, we could potentially break the frame with longer angel wings. You could try a halo, although that might look terrible. So there may, some restraint has perhaps been demonstrated by not going overboard with the angel motif there. Um, but yeah, it's a pretty decent patch. What makes this quite unique is that this campaign group is LARPing that they are friends from the the academy, and they've actually what they've done here is they've uniquely coloured each patch for each individual member of the crew. So different colours represent different cliques that their characters were part of in the academy, with pink, I think, meaning the mean girls, and blue meaning Oxfordians, and green for the officers' training camp, red for anarchists, and purple for the goths. I am fascinated to know how these cliques' personalities played out during the campaign. But as I say, I love the idea that actually you've got a campaign patch which is like clearly uniform. It's no question that every one of the angels is a member of the angels, but there is very subtle customization of that patch, personalization of that patch for each individual crew member. I don't know what that does to the cost of producing your crew patches, but I think it's a very cool idea, and they've done it with subtlety of just changing the color of the stars, and not doing something obvious like just jamming the name of the person on the patch. That's classy. They've also, like with Bad Batch, they've gone with 4 stars, with the 5th star being within the UCN insignia, which I think is fine. And yeah, so I think this is probably a B tier design on its face. But the gimmick of the color coded stars unique to each crew member is going to cause me to bump this up to A tier. Because look, we're not just looking for high quality designs here, we're also looking for ideas and concepts that push forward the medium of Bridge Command campaign patches. So, A for the Angels. Moving on, we've got the Havoc Raisins. So this is sort of a campaign patch. I believe this was made by Oz Wilcox as a present for the Raising Havoc crew, who are affectionately known as the Raisins. Much to the annoyance of many of the members of that crew. And of course, if people give you a nickname and you act annoyed about that nickname, then of course it's much more fun to call you that nickname. So this patch is really leaning into the raisins. This is obviously giving sun-made raisins, and it is a lot of fun. It is a silly in-joke. Nice idea. But look, I can't condone creating patches just to bully people, even if those people are Kane. So I'm going to have to put this in C tier. Sternly put it into C tier. All right, the next one is one of my designs. This is for the campaign crew Redacted. So the concept of this campaign crew is that it's a crew full of folks who really enjoy picking at the hidden secrets of the Bridge Command universe. So the design for this patch is based on a singular concept that the crew name, Redacted, would be hidden until you shine a black light on it. So that's what it looks like in normal light, and this is what it looks like under a UV black light, the redacted text then lights up. Obviously, you can just about make it out in normal light, but certainly on an arm as somebody's walking past, it just looks kind of like a stop sign with 5 stars in the middle. But under UV light, it clearly reads redacted. So I think that has worked beautifully well. A lot of credit to Rosemary, who helped me, who's the embroiderer who produced these patches for me. She helped pick the appropriate thread and went through a few iterations of trying to figure out what would work and what would look good. And I'm very happy with the end results. The original concept was Paige's idea, that it would just be a black patch with completely hidden text, but I couldn't really figure out a way to do like blacklight thread on a black background that didn't reveal the text on it to the naked eye. So we went with white, with this white reflective thread for the redacted text, on something that, as I say, sort of looks like a stop sign, sort of looks like, with the stars, almost like a password entry input field, or possibly looks a little bit like a redaction marker. Whiteout has marked over the text. So we've intentionally left it really like blank other than that, with no border, no text, no anything, because obviously that fits the design. It is a single gimmick, but I'm very proud of how it's come out, so I am quite happy to arrogantly put this into A tier. All right, we are on the home stretch now. We're going to look at Romeo for President. So this one I'm taking to be a joke. Romeo, aka the oldest cadet, for president of the UCTCN, with the tagline "Go Beyond Competence." And the Latin up here, I believe, translates as "sit on your ass and do nothing." I don't I mean, it's the concept is funny. I don't love the general look. It is plastic, and I don't love the way that's come out. It's not that visually appealing to me. But I suppose it's good for being wiped clean in case of spills. There's not a lot else to say about this. It's just the UCN logo in this strange blue that does stand out, and the gag, right? So I'm gonna put this quietly in C tier, and we'll move on with Lightspeed. Lightspeed Unknown. I don't know loads about this patch. I think it's full of in jokes that I actually am not privy to. So I really don't know what's going on. I'm just gonna talk about it. And if I'm revealing my ignorance of what the in joke is, then I'm putting my ass out there. So we've got the color scheme, and the rocket is for me is giving Planet Express from Futurama, but clearly there's a sort of video game style vibe with the mountains and the sun here. I have no idea why it's Lightspeed Unknown Bar and Grill. I probably shouldn't even be reviewing this because I know so little. I understand so little about this. Lieutenant Max, please fill me in. But it is competently done. It's very different. And I love these stars. The 5 stars on this one look great. So I'm just gonna pop this in B tier, and And perhaps at some point I will have an explanation given to me that makes me like it more. But I think it's functional right now, but it's not setting the world on fire. I think we've come to our last patch. It is the European Space Agency campaign patch. So this is a campaign done by folks who work for the European Space Agency, and I think that's really very cool. It's a lovely, lovely look, and it's very finely made. Look at the outline on the UCN insignia. Look at the detail. This is quite spindly text, but it's all very readable. It's recognizably ESA aligned. It's evoking space agencies, sort of evoking maybe the NASA meatball or past ESA patches. It's got the crew names on it, but as I say, they don't take focus from the general like red swoosh here. The rocket is not super visible, but overall it's very pleasing design. I like the color, and I like the way it's been executed. However, I'm gonna mark it down on 2 points. One is it's literally been designed by people who have designed patches for actual space missions. And I assume that is why the execution is so high in terms of the actual embroidery that they've had access to, just higher quality embroiderers than we do, or the general community does. And the other thing is that it violates my size rule. This is another oversized patch like the Takanami Turtles. And I gave the Turtles a ding for their oversized patch, so I'm going to also have to ding ESA. This would be A tier. I'm knocking it down to the top of B tier. And there you go. I think that is all of the patches that we have to review today. I'm reasonably happy with the distribution that we've got. Some great patches. I love seeing them. I know there are many more in the works right now. I had to do a cutoff at some point, otherwise this video would go on for too long, or I would just run away from the idea of doing it. But please do send me your patches when you have them. If you already have one and you would like it to be featured, please send it to me with any details about the design or what it was for. That would be much appreciated. And I hope to see you all soon in space.